Warning, this review may include or does include some spoilers for this book. So just want to give you a heads up and a warning now, so nobody's surprised. Good morning and welcome to another episode of Drew's Book Reviews. So today we are talking about a book titled Roller Skate Skinny by J.L. Michaels. And now, to start off this review, I want to start off by saying that this review contains mature subject matter. This is not a book review for those that may be triggered by issues concerning sexual abuse and rape. So if you think that might be a problem for you, don't continue watching. This is definitely a more heavily serious book in terms of the content and the subject matter. I also want to say a huge thank you to J.L. Michaels, who was kind enough to arrange to have a free copy of her book sent to me for the opportunity to read and review. When I started my channel, I did not expect at any point to, even be getting anything out of it. I was just kind of doing it out of my own hobby and enjoyment. And I really, really appreciate any and all opportunity to receive free books to review. And I really appreciate it, and it does mean a lot. So thank you so much for providing me with that opportunity. Now on to the actual review. So, with Roller Skate Skinny, we have a book that is all about a unstable individual trying to deal with the emotional trauma that she is going through. And the opening dialogue, I think, really, really helped set the tone for the entire book. We're introduced to this character by the name of Delilah. So as mentioned, a mentally unstable woman who suffers from severe depression, self-doubt, anxiety, low self-esteem, possibly schizophrenic as well, who seems to suffer from hallucinations of pink-eared bunnies and glass turtle ashtrays and green doors, stemming from an experience she had in her childhood and some trauma that is there. She's constantly referring to herself as the unloved, the rejected, the unwanted, and she's putting up these walls and these barriers around people, around herself, to keep others out from being able to effectively have a relationship with her. She doesn't just do this to her co-workers and her friends, but she does this to her family as well, including her husband, in which there's been these relationship issues with her husband as well. And then when people leave her or stop trying, stop putting in effort because nothing works, she takes this as proof that only seems to reinforce these feelings of self-doubt and self-hatred and self-loathing. So it's a story about Delilah, and she's trying to cope with some tragedy that's happened to her in her life, of the loss of her mother, who also seems to be someone who has rejected her and couldn't even properly remember her name. And that's kind of the character profile that we're looking at for this book. What we have as we go through the book, we really learn more about her and the trauma that is leading her to be in this state of essentially mental breakdown. In chapter 9, we have this vivid scene, which honestly I can only describe as rape. She blames herself for what happened. She goes through these periods of feeling this religious guilt, feeling that God cannot forgive her for what she has done. She has a lot of resentment towards her rapist, who she feels is being able to continue with his life with absolutely no consequences to his actions. While he goes on with his life, she is in this constant state of self-punishment and hatred and just feeling like she is responsible for it all. And this individual, proceeds to effectively sexually assault her. Not effectively, he does sexually assault her numerous times, a couple times throughout the book. And it's just this kind of vivid, graphic telling of this story of this character who is dealing with so much trauma in her life, and how someone can cope with that, being as mentally unstable as she seems to be. And as we get towards the end, it all comes to a head. At first, she ends up committing this savage crime of murder while the story is going on, and effectively an individual becomes her victim. But then in the end, she ends up being a victim herself. And so the tables essentially kind of get turned on that. Except that the situation in which she became a victim is vastly different than the one in which she victimized another by killing him. And it just really kind of comes back to, and it seems to be that is the event that ultimately turns, in a way, her relationship around with her husband. So it's really kind of this twisted story about psychologically messed up, mentally unstable individual. And I honestly found it overall to be a well-written, depressing book. And I say that in the utmost positive way. Like, the content of the story, the things your character's dealing with, they can be quite depressing. And yet it is so well written. It is vividly told. It is written incredibly well that you cannot help but empathize with the character. And I have to say that I found myself having a lot of empathy for Delilah, because I have been someone who has also suffered from severe or debilitating depression in my life. And so when I read what's going on with Delilah, when we kind of get to know her and understand her, the way she's thinking within the story, I can empathize with that because I've been in those shoes. I've been there before. I've been in situations, as Delilah says, I am the unloved, I am the rejected, I am the unwanted. I've been in a position in my own life where that's how I felt. So I could really start to understand where she is in her life, mentally and psychologically. And also, just one aspect that I found really fascinating about this is how the criminal activity kind of ties in with her overall mental state throughout the book. I found this fascinating specifically because in college or university, I took a course called Abnormal Psychology and Crime. So it was really kind of interesting to see how this book kind of portrays a character with what we would call certainly abnormal psychology, and ultimately the crime that she committed in the end, and how that kind of all played in together and tied together in the end. And just, again, just such a well-written book. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing the relationship that she had. And at the same time, it's a very depressing story, but such a well-written, depressing story. It really is difficult to say otherwise with this. It's just so good. And I am quite impressed. One of the best books that I personally have read in a long time. And I think it's definitely well worth a read. So check it out. So I understand you can get it on Amazon. And definitely worth reading. So again, great book. And again, thank you, J.L. Michaels, for sending me a copy of the book. I really appreciate that. And I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to read this book and check it out. So those are just some of my thoughts specifically on Roller Skate Skinny. Great book, well worth the read. Thank you so much for watching. And definitely go and check out this book. And of course, don't forget to stay tuned because, as always, next time on Drew's Book Reviews. And of course, as always, don't forget to check out all my social media profiles. They will be linked in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I am, of course, most active on Twitter and Instagram, so don't forget to check me out and follow me there. And until next time, we'll see you on the next episode of Drew's Book Reviews. Thank you so much and have a great day.